just clicked it.
Okay.
Sit back and enjoy.
Bible story time. So there's a story in the Bible of a woman named Tamar, and if you look at the story, Tamar isn't really even like super pronounced, but I always find this Bible story super interesting because one of the reasons why I find the Bible story so interesting is because in the New Testament, in the book, I think of Luke, it's the only place that there's 5 women that are named in the lineage of Jesus, and Tamar is one of the 5. And so if you go back and you read her story, it's sort of crazy to hear her story because she's somebody that you wouldn't expect to be in the lineage of Jesus. And I just want to share her story because I don't think most people know the story, and I might get some details mixed up just a little bit. So I would just recommend, if you really want to know, to go read it. But so Tamar got married to one of Judah's sons. So Judah is one of the 12 sons of Jacob. He's one of the 12 tribes of Israel. And Judah had 3 sons, and she got married to the oldest son. I can't remember what his name is right now. I think it's or something like that. And she gets married to and God did not like because it said he was so wicked. And basically it says God killed him. God was like, you are definitely not having a kid, so you're dead, or died. And traditionally what happened, if a woman was married and then her husband died, she would marry the second son. And so Judah gave Tamar his second son, can't remember his name. And it's a little complicated sort of, because whatever son she would have with that second one, it wouldn't actually be his heir. It would belong to his brother's heir. So he didn't really want to have a baby with Tamar. So the second son decides, I'm gonna pull out basically every time I consummate this marriage. And so every time he and Tamar would have sex, he'd pull out. And God saw that, and he's like, that ain't gonna happen either. And he killed that son. And struck him dead. And so there's one son left. And Judah is like, dang, I have 3 kids. 2 of them have died. And now, I'm about to, give Tamar this last son. And I'm, a little worried about this. This is,
right.
But under the Mosaic law, he was actually required to. So she's waiting, and she's waiting, and she's waiting. And for Judah to give him his son. And time passes, Judah's not doing it. And she's getting desperate. And she's waiting, it's not happening. And she sees he actually has no intention of ever giving her the last son. And so she devises a plan, and she hears that Judah is gonna go travel from some place to another place. And so she decides to get dressed up as a prostitute. And she stays on the corner of where apparently prostitutes hung out in those days. And Judah comes, and he basically was like, hey, you wanna go over to this place, whatever it was. And they get together, and she says, what was the deal? There's something to the effect of I think he asked her what's your cost, and she's like, how about a goat or something like that. And he's like, okay, well, I don't have a goat right now. And she's like, well, just give me something so that I when I go to claim the goat, they know that you sent me. So he gives her some sort of like something from his, it would only belong to him. I can't remember specifically what it was. It was like a scepter or something along those lines. It wasn't a scepter, but something like that. And so he says, okay.
Scepter is crazy.
It's not scepter, but it's like something like, it's something like that. It was like, oh, that's Judah's thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so they go have sex, and she goes her way, he goes his way. Months passed, she's pregnant. And she would have been part of that household. They find out she's pregnant, and Judah's pissed. He's like, you disgraced our family. You like brought dishonor to our whole family. Like you're gonna die. Like you're getting stoned for this because you're a whore, basically. Mm-hmm. And she said, and they're like, well, like whose baby is it? And she's like, it's this guy's. And then she holds out Judah's thing, and he's like, oh shoot. And he realizes like that was her on alongside of the road, and that's my baby. Uh-huh. And he realized
you are the father.
You're the father. I told you the story.
That was the first Maury show right there.
Right. This is like 1990s Maury, Phil, Dr. Phil, kind of like Phil Donahue, like all the Phils, kind of show. But he said like, oh, like you are, like you're more righteous than I am. Like I should have given you my son, but like you did what you needed to do. Mm-hmm. And so basically like through that child, that was the child of Judah that eventually the Jesus came through that union right there. Which to me is crazy for a couple of reasons. One of the things that I think makes this story like stick out to me is number one, like we think about the Bible in particular, but I would say more so like women in the Bible. Like they're not that pronounced in the Bible already, but like the way that we think about Christian women is like very like perfect, like almost like we think about Mary and we think about like, you know, perfection, very pure, very untouched. Like you don't really think about it in these kinds of stories where it's like, no, there's like prostitution, there's like all the stories with the two sons, like the second son pulling out, like those are crazy kinds of stories. Mm-hmm. You don't think about that when it comes to the heroines of the Bible. Like Judah even said, like, you're more righteous than I am. Like I am the one that messed up. Like I didn't do the right thing.
I see. He was pretty quick to own his mistake.
Yep. And you know what I think, which brings me to my second thing that doesn't say this. This is my own opinion about it. She had a lot of tenacity to go do that. Mm-hmm. She risked her life to go do that. Mm-hmm. And you could say like, well, it was the times, like it's self-preservation. She would have had to like had an heir if she was ever gonna like, you know, have any security. I think there's more to it than that. Like for it to there's probably lots of other stories like that happened that are not written in the Bible. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of stories like that happened where it's like a woman was left without an heir, without a child, like husband died, whatever.
Right.
I think she knew she had a purpose to fulfill. I think she knew like, no, you need to have a baby. Mm-hmm. Like there's a reason why she was chosen to have this baby. She was chosen to raise this son. Mm-hmm. Like I genuinely think that there's something there. And so I love that story. And then the last thing that I take from this story is like God really does pick the people that you think would be the last to choose. Mm-hmm. Like, if we reading that story, and we like now we know because we have the whole Bible, we have the whole book. But if we were to look at that story, that is not someone that we would put in the lineage of Jesus. Mm-hmm. That is not somebody would be like, wow, look at this story, look at how righteous she was. Like, look at the. We wouldn't people wouldn't tell it that way. But if you look at all throughout the Bible, and we talk about King David a lot because like that one's obvious. That one's like, oh, God chose David because, you know, he was a man after God's own heart. He was the least likely, though, like all that's he was the underdog, and like David is celebrated as like the underdog, and I love the story of David. But the Bible is filled with so many underdogs, and Tamar is one of them. Like, she's an underdog. You never would think that that would be somebody that would be significant in history, but she obviously was. And I think that like those three things, like it's not what it always looks like. We think of Christianity and all these stories as one way, that like God speaks to people, and that like God will speak to you, and it might look totally crazy to everybody else, but when God speaks to you, like you have a purpose to fulfill.
Yeah.
And the last thing, like he chooses people that are sometimes the most unlikely, and I think that's super cool. So that's my Bible story time. That's it.